Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra McArthur. Welcome to the Google Hangout. Thank you so much for joining us on what is the International Disability Day. We are really thrilled to be partnering with the UN Foundation plus SocialGood for this conversation around how we can use innovation to better serve people with disabilities. As a bit of background, again, my name is Alexandra McArthur. I was Miss Wheelchair America 2011. I'm also the co-chair of the National Disability Institute. I'm coming to you all from Raleigh, North Carolina. And in 2014, I was chosen as a White House Champion of Change for disability and employment. So this topic is obviously very near and dear to my heart, and really excited to have some really fantastic both advocates and people working within the disability space as part of the conversation today. So we have about an hour for this conversation, so I will get us kicked off and introduce the other pictures of people that you see on your screens there. And as a reminder, please feel free to tweet if you like, if you have questions, want to jump into the conversation, that kind of thing. But we're going to move forward here. So first I'm going to go over to Bionic Labs with Michał, Prywata, and Thiago Caires. Would love for you guys to introduce yourselves. You guys are the founder of Bionic Labs and want to hear a little bit about your backgrounds before we jump into learning more about Bionic.
Sure. So we met back in 2010 in university, maybe 2009. We were studying biomedical engineering, and we both took it upon ourselves to start a medical device company focused on creating solutions for people with neurological disorders. We felt that we could use the skills we acquired in university to start building a strong team of engineers and begin developing some of those technologies. We first started working with some prosthetic devices. We worked with brain control interfaces and transitioned some of those algorithms into what's now our first product that's going into the market, which is our Generation 2 exoskeleton, which allows people who are paralyzed to stand up and walk and use the technology for rehabilitation.
One of the interesting things about the biomedical engineering program where we met is that a lot of the people work on prosthetic devices, on different interfaces, but it's very hard work on working on robotics, because robotics, there's so many fields. The electronic field, the mechatronics field, software, different mechanics. And one of the things that we did when we started is that we worked on prosthetic devices first to gain the experience we needed for the medical field. But it was always our goal to build something like robotics to help people paralysis, mostly spinal cord injury and stroke patients. So, but it's very good to have the experience of the medical device field first, so we can dive into a much larger and complex product.
Awesome, indeed. It sounds like it's going to be something that can reach a huge amount of people, but you're just getting kicked off here. So we're going to dig back into some of those questions and some of the challenges and opportunities that you guys are facing in a bit. But I want to go to Leon Katsnelson. He's the CTO of IBM Analytics. Leon, can you introduce yourself and a little bit why what brings you here today?
Sure. So, as you said, I'm Leon Katsnelson. I'm delighted to be here. I am with the IBM Analytics division, where we work on producing products to help people get value and insight out of very large quantities of data. And what brings me here today is really the work we've done with Bionic Labs, these two really bright and really handsome guys here, as well as the partnership we have with United Nations and the United Nations Foundation around 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And we believe that, and I believe personally, that there's a lot of value in the data that goes underutilized, and I would love to be able to help out with getting the insights out of the data brought forward and help people with disabilities.
Awesome. Thank you, Leon. I'm getting a little echo. There's, let's see. Okay, that might be a little better. Thank you. So our last and definitely not least, guest we have today is Bobby Bahram. He is joining us from Australia and has a very personal connection with this topic as well. Bobby, do you want to give a bit about your background?
Yeah, how you going, guys? I'm just fighting off some crocodiles and kangaroos at the moment, so just bear with me. My name's Bobby Bahram. I'm one of the youngest. Well, as far as I know, I'm the youngest person ever diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I was 13 years old. I spent a lot of time wheelchair bound, in and out of wheelchairs. I've got severe remitting relapsing MS, walking sticks, the whole thing, and it's my passion to open up the world and the educational knowledge for people with disabilities and their carers. And I'm one of the most extreme athletes in the world with a disability because I've climbed a few of the tallest mountains in the world in preparation, in training to go to Mount Everest, and I train at gyms like Fitness First and Jayco, Oracle Green Edge Tour de France team, and Falls Creek, which is a ski resort mountain, all year round mountain in Australia, and that's where my training is. Like, I spend a lot of time sick, and then when I'm better, I spend time training. So I devote all my time to want to really, really push the issue of people with disabilities and their carers, because it doesn't matter if you have a disability, you just have a go. And my actual little saying is, whatever you have, you just give it a chance, give it a crack. In Australia, it means give it a go, because that's what I think. There's probably a billion people in the world with a disability, and I'm representing all us people, and to say, you know what, nothing's too hard not to do. If you just give it a try, even if you jump in a wheelchair and go for a wheel around the block, you're achieving something. And that's my whole purpose of living now. I'm 48 years old, and I'm really, really, really passionate about making a difference to people with disabilities and carers, of course, because we need carers. Without the carers, makes life difficult. But people with disabilities, you know, you just get up there. It takes 30 muscles to smile, so I'm smiling with my bionic teeth with glue, okay? and my bionic toupee glue with my hair. So, you know, it's really important to have a laugh. I mean, I'm in 24-hour pain, really excruciating pain, but I deal with it by joking a lot, and I lock it in the back of my head. I don't take no medications, and you know, that is my mission in life before I die in the next 30 or 40 or 50 years. Happiness, disability is cool, it's radical, and it rocks, and bionic rocks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bobby. So part of what you mentioned here, and I think it's something we can all really agree with, that it's, you know, what we're trying to do here is to improve lives for people with disabilities and give them a go, right? And let people have as many opportunities as possible. So I'd love to hear from Michał and Thiago. For Bionic Labs, kind of how did you guys think about the ways that your product will improve the lives of people with disabilities?
So first of all, we had to start with developing a core, I guess, platform technology, I would call it. We kind of started at the far end of the spectrum, creating a technology that allows someone that's basically paralyzed from the waist down, and that's something very difficult to deal with in terms of getting that person up and moving and being able to stabilize them. And we figured if we can solve that using robotics, you know, not as a cure, but something that actually maybe improves your life by getting up and walking, we could scale that technology down and be able to target other illnesses or other disabilities with that platform technology. So that's something that we've really been focusing on, so that it's not just something that's for paraplegia, but it can also work for MS or ALS, you know, any form of disability where someone you know, can't walk properly, or you know, maybe for their arm or for part of their leg. So it's all kind of based on that technology.
I think one thing that's important also regarding robotics is that we have enough data today in the scientific community. Not just, we don't have a lot of data on robotics specifically for spinal cord injury, We have a lot of data in the community for robotics in general, for other problems of rehabilitation. And the data suggests that robotics is better than a lot of the manual therapy that's out there because it's much more aggressive, it's much more centralized. The specific accuracy of using robots, it's greater than a manual physiotherapist moving a leg or moving an arm. And you can see this for like wrists, fingers. A lot of the data came from stroke. Actually, even the standard of care for stroke rehabilitation for upper arm paralysis now is robotics. It's not manual therapy anymore. And we had all this data, but never actually a device was created and put into clinical trials with thousands of patients to see what's the effect of that in spinal cord injury. And that's one thing that really intrigued us. It's we don't have the data there yet, but we are getting there because it's important to understand if you put this robot and 5,000 people try it, what type of data are you going to get? What's the difference between that and doing locomotive training on a treadmill? So one of the things that was very important for us is that it was an open market. It was something that hasn't been tried before, even though it looks like it works and it looks like a good idea, but we didn't have the data out there. And for us, it was very important to get something going so we can actually get that data and see, what's the benefits that brings.
Do you guys have any sneak previews of any kind of early findings that you'd want to share from that data yet?
A lot of interesting things actually. I'm going to mention something is that when we tried the product with different patients, multiple centers, different physiotherapists, and sometimes we think the number one reason why the person would like the product is because they're up and walking, and most of the times it's not. It's actually for different reasons, and every single patient or physiotherapist have a different reason. But it's the first reason is not up and walking, which was a shock to us. Different things like programs, improving muscle density and the decreasing spasms. But like the walking and standing is actually like bottom on the line on the list, which is actually pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you're using some of that user-centered design or human-centered design to really unearth and really understand it. And I'll say as an anecdote, I'm currently in my standing wheelchair. You guys can't see it, but it is for me the ability to stretch, to do those kind of things, even while having this type of chat is such a gift, and it's something that technology provides for people with disabilities. Leon, going to you a little bit around the data question. So what are some of the ways that you're hoping that big data can be used, particularly for people with disabilities or for the sustainable goals?
Well, I have a long answer and a short answer. I'll start with a short one. So we look at this, there's really three ways that we look at contributing to these goals. One is around the empowerment and the message, which is really important. Before any real work can begin, and before we can scale solutions like the ones that Bionic, for example, here is creating, or to help you and Bobby articulate your challenges, there's messaging and there is evangelism that needs to happen, and so that's one. The other one is really with the action. So making things happen. So if you just hearing Thiago and Michał talk, their devices, their exoskeleton is brimming with sensors, and they're using all this information streaming from the device, to make the device work. So it's what detects the motion, it's what detects the intent of motion. But beyond that, if we were to scale this out and we were to collect all of this data, aggregate this data, and now apply the learning from a single patient or a dozen patients to thousands of people who can benefit from that, and really improve not just the working of a particular device, but really be able to gauge the effectiveness of the treatment, effectiveness of the training program, For Bobby, that's not treatment, that's a program. He's on a mission. So if we were to go and aggregate all of that, put it all together in one place, and be able to unleash the machine learning and analytics, same technologies we use for maybe less worthy causes, like which movie should I watch next, or which book should I buy, but now applying to something really more meaningful, like what should be my rehabilitation regimen, what exercise is really going to take me faster forward to the goal. I think that's fantastic. And last but not least is really actually going with this notion of measurement is really tracking the progress of what we do. I mean, it's one thing for us to say that, make a hypothesis and say we think this regimen of training or rehabilitation or this particular exercise or the combination of these things are going to lead us to a better outcome. But how do we know that that's the case? We don't know unless we constantly measure, and measurement has to be non-intrusive. So that's why these new generation of devices and these new wearables and the exoskeleton and so on, things that do the measurement, do the sampling, do the recording as a matter of fact. Don't require the physician or a caregiver or the athlete themselves to take care of that. None of us want to do that, right? Having it recorded automatically, having it analyzed automatically, telling us, giving us the feedback: are we on the right track? Are we meeting our goals? Are we doing the right thing? So that's kind of the way we see that happening. And I'd like to emphasize that while I went very quickly along the first part, the goal, which is to empower people who have the message to spread that message widely, I think that should not be understated. We live in a world where there's, especially in Western countries, there's a lot of realization of what people with disabilities are actually able to do. I don't think it's universal around the world. And then a lot of people have a passion on the topic, but the question is, can we have the data be an amplifier for that passion? So, for example, if you're blogging about something, and you may be saying, so many people with disabilities are actually engaged in active lives, wouldn't it be more compelling if you could make that argument and substantiate it with data that really drills down and goes to the core of what your argument is? And what we're trying to do, especially with this Big Data University, we're really in the path to teach people without the computer science degree, the people who don't have a PhD in machine learning and data science, not the people in the white lab coats, but regular people with a passion, to be able to make a strong argument and make it with data, because data kind of carries the day. So that's kind of the way I think we would like to approach that.
Yeah, that's really helpful, and I'll put a plug in for an organization that I've become involved with called Diversability. It's #Diversability, and they're doing exactly as you're talking about, trying to really make sure that they both empower and celebrate disabilities across the board. So I'm imagining being able to do that with the data that you're talking about, being able to back it up, it'd be really powerful. Leon, can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you've faced thus far gathering some of that data that would inform some of those outcomes?
Yeah, so I think we are all familiar how the data gathering was happening in the past. You'd have somebody with a clipboard coming up and doing an interview of some kind. Doing that. That's what we call data acquisition. It's a extremely laborious process. It's very ineffective process. And I like the way Thiago and Michał educated me on this. They would talk about, if you come to a hospital and somebody says, "What's the level of pain you're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10?" I don't know. Somebody will say 7, somebody will say 3, and they'll actually feel the same level of pain. I'm a wuss myself.
Bobby would probably say 0, and it would be a 10.
Exactly. For me, everything is a 10, and for Bobby, he feels no pain. So, it becomes very subjective. But one of the benefits of technology, and we can rely on technology too much, but there's one of the things that technology does remarkably well, And if you see the device, for example, that Michael and Thiago have built, it's absolutely completely instrumented with sensors and actuators, where you can tell to a very fine degree and all the time, in real time, what the particular pressure is that the person is applying. And you don't have to ask them. They don't have to be judgmental about this. It's an absolute value. So I think with the proliferation of these, devices, smart, Internet of Things, sometimes we call them, wearable devices, there's medical devices that are fully computerized. I think we're getting over the hurdle of data collection, and now we're kind of moving towards, well, now we have this tsunami of data. Now we actually have to analyze it, and that has become a much bigger problem.
At least now we have the option to analyze that data, right? Before, especially in the rehabilitation field for robotics, before robotics there was no data. Like Leon said, it was all clipboards and scales, and that needs to change before we start seeing better outcomes, and then we can start analyzing it. So,
are you all able to take in some of that data and be able to use it so far, or you feel like you're at the point where you're more the ones providing the data, and then hopefully, Leon's in the back analyzing it for you?
So that's where our whole Bionic IBM collaboration comes. That's, I guess, the whole purpose of what we're trying to do with IBM, and I think fairly shortly we'll start seeing a lot of that correlation in that data, especially as we start using the technology on many more people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Bobby, you recently became a Bionic ambassador, so would love to hear a little bit about that experience, what it's been like for you so far, and what excites you about it for the future.
Well, I mean, the thing is, thanks, guys, for making me the Worldwide Bionic Ambassador. But what one of my passions is to make the bionic technology accessible to everybody, because I know a lot of people on disabilities haven't got a lot of money. So if we can implement a system where we can put it through governments, where there's a subsidy, where all the technology, and by the way, guys, you guys are rocking as pioneers with all this new technology. If we can make it more accessible to everybody so they got access to all the technology to make lives easier for them, that's one of my passions. So for me, and I'll be right behind it, because I'll be saying that I'll even when I get to the top of Mount Everest, do a little Allen dance and wave the bionic flag at the top of Everest and say, guys, this is what we as a company represent, not only to make things fun, but to make things possible, because I'm going to be doing the impossible and making it possible the same way you guys have made the bionic technology possible. So now we've got to get it access through governments. So I'm going to be working my hardest, I mean, especially in Australia, because I'm good mates with the Disabilities Minister in Australia, and we're going to try and get it through the whole Australian government, and they can implement the system. Then we'll go from Australia, England, and then we'll do it through America, and we'll do it everywhere. So I think the most important thing here is to get the technology accessible to people with disabilities that need the technology, because the money with the governments can supply will make it more accessible. So that's one of my passions, to get this technology, make sure everybody has got access to it, because it rocks, it's cool, and I think it's not something that a person with a disability has the right to, but I think people with disabilities should have the access and should have the opportunity to have this technology to make their lives easier. And me being an ambassador, the Worldwide Ambassador for Bionic Laboratories, it really gives me a sense of urgency in getting this technology out to everybody in the world, and making everyone aware that this technology exists. And I know we've got IBM behind it. So I say we, because I feel that we are a team, and to get something like this really filtered throughout the world, it's a team effort from everybody involved. And that's my real passion. Sometimes I get that passionate. I make the word passion mean not too passionate. But I'm very, very passionate about this. And, you know, we want to make it fun. You know, we don't want to make it too serious, because with disabilities, I remember had a chat with the government in Australia, and they said, Bobby, what would you do as a disabilities ambassador? And I said, you know what, mate, I'll tell you what I do. Disabilities can be very grey and, oh my God, I'm not happy. I said, you know what, we make a happy yellow face, because yellow represents happy, and change the thinking to people to make disabilities more acceptable, more funky, more groovy, more as an accepted form. Because after all, you know, this is what I do when I speak. If you pick your finger, or if you cut yourself, we all bleed red. We all bleed red, whether we have a disability or not, or whatever race, religion we are. We all bleed red. So we are all brothers and sisters. We are connected to each other because we are basically the same. So with Bionic, you know, us as a company, and me being part of the Bionic team, if we can really put it out there with a bit of a tongue and a twist and a bit of a smile and happiness, you know, we can really implement, or I'll try my best to implement through the governments, that this technology is pioneering technology. We've got two really smart guys that I don't know if you've appeared on the Big Bang Theory or anything. The Big Bang Theory, do you get that over there? You guys are what we are blessed to have, Thiago and Michał, to implement your brains. Not only are you guys good-looking roosters, but you're very smart, and the technology can be out there. So that's my thoughts on it. And if I'm talking too much, just say, Bobby, just shut up for a minute, will you, mate?
You're good, Bobby. I have another question for you. So this technology, I think we all want it to be, you know, more accessible. Let's talk a little bit about kind of more of what it is. I encourage people to Google it and to look it up. It's fascinating to look at. But Bobby, from your perspective, and then I'll turn it over to Mike and Thiago, you know, how would this help people with disabilities if it is at scale and many people using it? What would that look like to you? What would the difference be?
Well, the thing is, me and you, we have a lot of experience with being in wheelchairs, and a lot of experience with having assistance with walking sticks and all that. This would help normalise, in a sense. I don't say normal as in we're all normal, but this would help make our functioning bodies be able to function more reliably. So, you know, people who can't, because I couldn't use my arms, I couldn't use my legs, if this technology was in place, it would enable everybody with those sort of problems to be able to use their limbs properly, and with a confidence and an assertiveness. And people that are permanently stuck in wheelchairs, I mean, I was in one for a long period of time. I get in and out. I got severe remitting relapsing MS. You know, this would enable us to function with a type of positiveness to be able to use our limbs with a real gutso and enjoy life to what we would have otherwise been able to do. And you guys are behind this. And that's what I reckon, Alex, that this sort of stuff has never been done. You only see it on the Jetsons and Star Wars and all that. But this is, you guys have made it possible to make this a reality. So it'll cause a lot of happiness. Can the world take so much happiness in one dose?
And Michael and Thiago, I mean, I think part of what you said in the beginning is that it's not a cure, right? We're not looking for that. We're looking for ways to help people, you know, function better, and as Bobby's just said, be more reliable with their everyday movements, that kind of thing. You know, what does it look like for you if you're thinking about, you know, that all of a sudden this is available, you know, broadly, and what change does that look like?
I think I like to split into two parts, because a lot of people, when you look at exoskeletons and this technology in general, not just exoskeletons, any type of robotic rehabilitation, they either think very short term or they think very long term. And there's actually two components that are very important. So the first component is the short-term component, right? And in terms of rehabilitation in general, we have data today to prove in other areas of rehabilitation medicine that robotics rehabilitation can improve therapy because it's either faster or more aggressive. So we have that data. But what people want to have to understand, and that's the exciting part for me, is the long-term view. So we talk bionic in general, and me as a researcher, especially when I was studying as an engineer, I talked to a lot of stem cell researchers, I talked to a lot of physicians, a lot of surgeons, and even if today you had the best stem cell therapy that completely regenerates the spinal cord, you would be almost useless without an aggressive therapy, an aggressive rehabilitation program. And the reason is when nerves grow, and when you're growing the spinal cord, even with the best technology out there, they grow randomly. They don't know where to go. Axons don't know where to go. It's like cars in the highway. You have to put an exoskeleton or some sort of rehabilitation that's very aggressive. So when you're moving your right leg, there's a direct correlation, a direct pathway between your brain and your right leg. So when the nerves are finally growing, it grows into that direction. So the way I look at it is like maybe you're going to have a full year, let's say, let's call it 50 years, just an example, on stem cells. For us to get there, we have to start today with robotics. So by the time we get there, we have a perfect robot or a perfect rehabilitation program with all the data from IBM and from all this, the analytics that we're doing, so the person can exactly know which program they want to do. This is the program that's best suited for you, and then that program can be combined with other technologies to solve a much bigger problem. So yes, I'm excited about the short term. There's a lot of potential for right now, but you have to also think about long-term perspective, and like the long-term that's going to come in 5 years, it has to start someday, and the day is today. So that's the way I like to look at it, and it's more exciting also because one technology by itself cannot solve this huge of a problem, right?
Yeah, exactly. And as you're saying, it's not, you know, for some people like myself, a wheelchair is something that allows, you know, it's a technology that allows me to get around, allows me to interact with society and all of those things. It's not necessarily a problem per se, but to have something that is going to, you know, encourage some you know, great rehabilitation, things like that, you know, it's a fantastic kind of dual mission there. Michael, anything to add as you think about, you know, how this could be more scalable?
Before I get to that, I just wanted to show. So I don't know if this will work, but I pulled it up on my phone. Can you guys?
Yeah, it looks good to me. Hopefully, others are seeing it too.
So what that is our arc to what we call the arc. It's an exoskeleton that you really just strap into, and it's fully censored, it's fully instrumented, and it picks up slight body movements, slight changes from your upper body, also you know, there are sensors in the feet which pick up weight shift. And what happens is, as you try to initiate walking, the device completes the walking gait for you. So it's an intelligent device that understands what you want to do. And that's really what we want to scale and bring to the market, and allow people to you know, use something that will get them up and moving and potentially feel better. And the thing is, we don't even know what we'll discover based on you know, the more people move, maybe they'll start getting better because of this, or this, and through the analytics, we may discover something else. So, you know, that's what we want to bring to the market.
Great. And what do you think it will take to make it more affordable and accessible for you know, anyone who would want one of these?
I think a key point of I would say bionic in general, because we are working on other products and our technology, but focusing more on the ARC. One of the key points of the way we designed this product is that since day one, 5 years ago, we designed a product that at one point is going to be available and affordable to everyone. There's no point in developing a technology that is so great and it costs $300,000, right? And if everyone that's listening to this video today that knows any little bit about rehabilitation and medical devices, we all know they're very expensive. And in the rehabilitation field, especially in rehabilitation robotics with some of the treadmill locomotive machines, they are very expensive. Some of those machines can go $300,000, $400,000, right? So if you're talking to a hospital, it's going to be very few places or hospitals and clinics that are going to have such a machine. So since day one of developing the art, developing this exoskeleton product, Bionic really put a lot of focus on what type of materials, motors, sensors we can use, even fabrics. We really put a lot of focus on the selection of those materials. So when we have a final product, the product is not going to be $300,000, $400,000 because that's just insane. Also, one of the key focus on the way we are doing our business, that's more on the business side, is that we are trying to work to as many hospitals and clinics as possible to not just sell the product, but allow a partnership. So if a hospital or clinic is willing to do a partnership with us, where they will charge the patient by the hour and pay Bionic by the hour, or a leasing model, whatever it is, we are open to exploring any type of partnership and research project to really allow hospitals to get this product. They want 1 unit, 10 units, they can get those units without paying for every single one of them, because we are open to those types of programs. And I think that's one of the things that that when I started Bionic, it was really like shock to me. It was really shocking to me in the medical field, because I'm not American. I'm from Brazil, and Brazil it's a very large country, but a lot of people are very poor, and a majority of the people there don't have access to this type of rehabilitation, and they will never have. So it was very sad to me that I had to create a product that maybe will cost $150,000, and I'll never be able to see a person from my own country trying it, because they'll never be able to afford it, right? So that just didn't seem right to me, and since the beginning I knew the objective was to get someone using the product and not someone buying the product. And that's in the way we're developing the product today, and our business model allows a clinic in Brazil or a clinic in a poor country in Africa to get a product like this and start using it right away, and then we figured out what's the partnership.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's a big core focus of Bionic, being open to different models of you know, how we get the product to people is extremely important. Revenue sharing with a clinic, partnering. Without that, even in countries that are, you know, rich, I would say, a lot of these clinics, they can't afford to buy a product, even no matter how low we try to push down the cost of goods of the device and try to lower everything as much as possible. It's still very difficult to get through that barrier. So we're really being open and looking at how we partner with clinics to make this possible.
And if you just simple calculations, for example, if you look at a clinic, we talked to a clinic one day, and they said they see about 100 patients a day. For 100 patients, you need at least 10 products. Okay, if you're selling each product for $100,000, that's $1 million, right? So a small clinic that's doing therapy on patients, they don't have $1 million to spend on robotic technology, especially on top of all the other costs they have. Yeah. So if you're doing a revenue sharing model and you're sharing by hourly basis, which is for us, for Bionic, it's a great model. For the clinic, it's a great model, because if they use it for 1 hour, they pay for 1 hour, right? If they need 10 products, we can drop in 10 products. It's not a problem for us. But as soon as you start charging for those, then you push clinics to only get 1 product when they actually need 10, 15, 20 units.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. I think it's great to be able to think about, too, not only, you know, what you know, countries who may be wealthier are able to access, but really broadening it up. I mean, there are millions and millions of people with disabilities across the world who could benefit from this technology, and so to have that at the forefront as you're thinking about scaling is huge. That's great. Leon, go ahead, Bobby.
I was just going to say, these guys, it's like before the motor car, when the motor car was invented, and Henry Ford made the car accessible to the masses around the world through massive and volume technology and production through his factory. So the guys have made this. This is like Henry Ford making the car, and everybody's gone, oh, groovy, cool, we've got a car, and it's gone from horses, which is going from wheelchairs, to bionics. So we just got to make, so that's, if the government gets involved and mass uses it, so it's got access to everybody around the world, that I reckon is the key to getting everybody hooked up with this really cool product. Henry Ford, the massive production in the factories, that's what I reckon is the big thing, to make it cheap, affordable, and accessible.
Yeah. Awesome, awesome. Thanks, Bobby. Leon, wanted to have you talk a little bit more about Big Data University and how one could get involved in that.
Sure. So actually, I had a question for Bionic guys. I want them to think which one of them is a Sheldon Cooper, but from the Big Bang. Yeah, Big Data University. So I love what Bobby is saying about spreading the word, getting the governments to get behind this, getting the getting the funding. That requires pressure. This requires persistence. This requires evangelism, and it requires it to be done by a lot of people, right? So great. You guys are great champions. So we just need to multiply you, and that's I think that's really where Big Data University can help. So first of all, just a kind of few words about Big Data University. It's an initiative by IBM, and we started that just as you talked about Thiago and Michael being very passionate about making their devices affordable. We wanted to make sure that we made learning about big data analytics to be democratized and available to everyone. And there's two things that we thought that were preventing that from happening. One was money. Money is always a problem. And the other one is time. So what we've done with Big Data University, we made everything free. You don't have to ask me or an IBM sales rep to get enrolled in this. You just come into a website, so a little commercial, bigdatauniversity.com, enroll, start taking the course. So one is it's all free. The data is free. The tools are free. The course materials are free. So anybody can do it. The second part is, the second impediment we see is time. People want to learn, but they don't necessarily have unlimited amount of time to learn, nor can they always align their schedules with some course that somebody's providing them at some point in time. So what we wanted to make sure that whether you have you're in between jobs or you have two jobs and have a young child on your hands, you should still be able to learn. So some people need to take a course before they're going in an interview, and some people want to take a course at a month from now. Some people complete the course in 3 days, and other people will take 3 months. So what we're trying to do, and that's really what we're trying to champion in here, is to make sure we call it at your pace, at your place learning. It's learn anytime. It's all free. We just encourage people to get out there, and again, it's bigdatauniversity.com. Not that hard to remember. What we're also doing is, we have a fairly small team, very energetic, but very small team. So we're partnering up with companies like Bionic, and we love these guys, because what they're doing is they're disrupting existing industries. And we want more disruptors like that. We want more millennials who are going out there and saying, I'm going to change this industry that's moving very slow and is charging an obscene amount of money. I'm going to make it move fast. I'm going to make it serve the constituents, and I'm going to make it available to everyone. So we've created this program called Big Data University Ambassador Program, and we're partnering up with these guys to kind of get this message out there. It says, hey, look, learn how to get advantage of data. You learn how to get the value out of it. Maybe you'll build another Bionic, or maybe 10 of them. All right, help people like you and Bobby and others to get the message out there, to put the data behind that, make this message pervasive and persistent, and make it very compelling to whoever needs to provide the funding, to whoever needs to provide the resources, that this is a real, and this is not just special interest groups screaming. This is backed up by data. So that's kind of what we're looking to do with the Big Data University. Again, bigdatauniversity.com. Very easy to find, and just spread the word. tell it to your mom. You know, mother-in-law is good too. Your friends, everybody can be a data scientist.
And Leon, related to that, do you have a sense of how many people with disabilities may be taking Big Data University and are themselves a part of it?
That's a fantastic question. I wish I knew the answer to that. So I know how many people today are enrolled in our program. So we have 330,000 people worldwide enrolled in Big Data University. We don't collect data which we consider to be private and personal, so we do not ask if a person has a disability. But that would be interesting to, you know, this is why the champions and the ambassadors would be, you know, stepping forward and saying, I am a person with disabilities, and I have learned how to convince somebody, or I have learned how to instrument, you know, an exoskeleton device and collect the data. I've learned how to track my progress and so on. I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. You kind of think that, you know, people usually work on what they know, and so if that's a big part of their lives and they want to, you know, make a difference in that area, it's great that they could use BigDataUniversity.com as a resource for that. So very, very neat there. Okay, well, we are about at 15 minutes or so, so I wanted to go back first to Bobby and see kind of, you know, what's next. I know you have some training and some lofty goals around Mount Everest, so want to hear a little bit about you know, about that and about how, you know, this community can support you and what you're headed to do.
Yeah, thanks. What it is, I'm going to Mount Everest next year as training. I'm going to about 7,500 meters. Then I'm going to the top to Mount Everest in 2017. I just came back from a mountain called Mirror Peak as a training mountain. I had an MS relapse near the top. So, you know, my eyes went and my legs really went on me, and they dragged me down the mountain for about, you know, it was hours and hours to get me to the bottom. And, you know, so be it. My doctor said to me, like, it's going to be a fatal thing, me going to Mount Everest and that. And I say, you know what? No biggie. You know, everything, you got to die at one stage, so I might as well, you know, if I'm going to go, I'm going to be really nicely preserved in the cold too. So it'll be a good-looking thing. But what I want to say, so I try. This is my training schedule, guys. I train at Fitness First gyms. I don't know if you're Fitness First gyms around the world. I train with them and personal trainers for about 2 or 3 hours a day. Then after that, I go to a climatization room where it's at about 15,000 feet, where you're training and it's simulated like you're on a mountain. So I train there in the Jaco climatization room. You know the Tour de France. The owner of Jaco owns the Oracle Green Edge Jaco cycling team. So I train in that room, and then I go to a really fantastic mountain in Australia. It's a ski resort, but it's all year round mountain. It's called Falls Creek. So I train in the mountains at Falls Creek, and they supply me with Trekkers, Adventure Guides Australia, and I'm training in Falls Creek. It's a mountain that caters for people with disabilities. It's a great thing, and I train there. So I've got the Falls Creek training, I've got Jaco training, and then I've got Fitness First training. So what I do is I fell about 40 times a day going up Mirror Peak. My legs were shredded, and you know, I just fall and I get up and I keep going, because what I want to say to people with disabilities is try and do what you just want to do. Now, you don't have to be as crazy as me, because I'm a little bit on the crazy side. Sometimes I'm a little bit brainless and fearless. But, you know, what I want to do by getting to the top of Mount Everest is to say, you know what, look, I have a severe relapsing remitting MS condition. I'll break a record going up there. I'll be one of the first people. I'll be the oldest person with a disability to reach the top, because I'm an old bugger. Don't look at me like this. This is a facelift, you know. But, you know, I'm 48 years old, and I was diagnosed at 13. And my whole thing is, when I was 13 years old, I said to myself, when I was chair-bound, my eyes were gone, I said to myself, one day I'm going to be able to walk to the top of the world and see the blue sky. And now 35 years or 36 years later, I'm doing that. So I'm training. So I've climbed Mount Kalapatan, the Himalayas. I just came back from Mira Peak. I had an MS attack. I didn't peak it, but I had a crack. And you know what? So be it. You know, stuff happens. Then I'm going to go to Mount Everest and train and try and get to the top of Everest. And if I don't, well, I've tried my best. And so, you know, that's the attitude that I have. Because for every no you get, you're one step closer to a yes. And that's the way that I conduct my life. And that's what I do. So I train. Fitness first, Jaco, Falls Creek. Train, 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 eat right, have a real positive attitude. And you know what? In the end, I have a lot of fun doing it. I have a lot of fun. You know, I'm never like, oh my God, I've got to train. I'm like, I go to sleep. I don't sleep a lot. I get up 10 times a night from my incontinence, from my MS. So I'm in the toilet all night and all that sort of stuff. But every morning I get up and I go, wow, another day. This is awesome. How cool is this? I'm alive for another day. Get out there, do your training, whether I'm in the mountains at Falls Creek or, you know, whether it's Falls Creek is a ski resort, so it's in the winter and the summer, it's all year round mountain, whether I'm there or for Fitness First or Jaco. You know, I'm happy to be alive. You know, when people say to me, what, because I've got a killer personality, because I mean, I'm not on any specific drugs or anything, I'm just high on life. You know, so when I'm at a party, people go, oh, what do you want? And I'm saying, oh, it's the best drug in the world, it's called life. And they go, what? And I'm like, well, we got these positive endorphins, so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to Mount Everest, I'm climbing. I've got a, you know, I've got a GoFundMe page where people can donate to my trip, because it's going to cost a lot of money to get up, because I've got specialty, I've got doctors coming, I've got mountain Sherpas, I've got, you know, it's not if you're going to go up to Mount Everest, it'll cost you 100 grand, it'll cost me 300 grand because of my specialty needs. But you can go to a GoFundMe page and just donate and sponsor and help me get up there, because you know what? This is only not good for people with disabilities, this is good for all people. I know we're bionic to make things easier, but I'm just saying as a general rule, with general people with disabilities, it's like, you know what, have a go, live your dream, and just give it a good shot, because you only got one life, so make the most of it. I'm excited.
Bobby, we're excited with you. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to go. I'll ask you this first, and then we'll ask both Leon and you know, and the rest of the folks. But I want to ask first. It's I got an email today that President Barack Obama, and I'm sure you know other world leaders have done the same, have set out a few proclamations for this day, and a quote from it here. It says, "On International Day of Persons with Disabilities, we rededicate ourselves to building a fair and more accessible world and to upholding the fundamental dignity and respect of all people." And I think it's a really great sentiment for today, and it really, you know, brings out some of the themes that we've talked about here today. So wanted to ask kind of, you know, for each of our panelists here, what does that mean to you, and what does that mean to, you know, the year ahead to really rededicate yourself to that mission, if it speaks to you? So Bobby, I think let's go with you first.
Yeah, could I just interact? Also, I just forgot to say, this is a really important thing that people don't really consider, but people with disabilities need to be taught self-defense, because we are a target. And I train I train in self-defense at Combat Mixed and Martial Arts in how to protect myself. So there's a disability program that, you know, I just think, you know, it's not put out there a lot, because people with disabilities are targets around the world, because we're not as capable as fighting off people that want to come and hit us or rob us or whatever. So it's just a little thing where we can really highlight, being World Disability Day, that, you know, this is an inclusive thing. People don't look at it. You know, people don't look at about people with disabilities. People don't look about people with disabilities with sex. You know, it's just part of our lives. You know, we are human beings. So, you know, this is a part of dealing with having a disability, where you've got to cover you've got to tick all the boxes that people without disabilities experience and have access to. Now it's time for people with disabilities to get on a level playing field. And with Bionic, it's getting up to a level playing field, and that's why things like, it's World Disabilities Day. I reckon the whole world and all the presidents should get around and we should have a party and say, you know what, let's make a difference for people with disabilities. Get inclusive with combat martial arts. We can have the sex subject taken. We can have the electronic subject taken. Talked about. Let's talk about everything and not be immature about it and go, oh my God, we can't talk about these type of subjects. Let's have a real mature convo about it. I mean, now I'm being serious. It's a little bit unusual for me to be this serious, but I'm passionate about it. Let's have a real good conversation about it to talk about the real issues with people with disabilities, and if the governments can help. And it's World Disability Day, and happy World Disability Day to everybody around the world. By the way, it's a big day on the calendar, and if we can, it's a team effort. If we can all get together, then we can make a difference. That's what I reckon.
Yeah, thank you, Bobby. That's really helpful. I love that. It's what you're saying. It can cut across, every population. Anyone can have a disability at any moment, and it impacts so many different parts of your life. But let's put it on the table. Let's talk about it. Let's celebrate it. So, Leon, how about you? What does it mean to celebrate International Day of Persons with Disabilities?
Well, I have to say that this particular call opened up my eyes. I mean, I just I think the passion and enthusiasm that we've seen in here is something that should be celebrated. I mean, I wish I had 10% of the energy that Bobby is exhibiting here. So to me, it's a really maybe rededicating myself to highlighting and being able to participate and be part of this and help in any way I can. That's what I would say. That's what it means for me.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Leon. Thiago and Michael, we'll go to you next.
For me, it's two things in once. One, of course, celebrating something that we've been working for 5 years towards.
It's been a huge part of our lives.
It's been a huge part of our lives already.
Every day in and day out, we're working towards.
Yeah. So seeing that there's getting like all the tweets and the messages today, it's exciting because I'm not sitting in a wheelchair, but I'm spending so much time doing developing those products that it's a reflection of whatever we are doing, our work, it's beneficial. Yeah. So it's a reminder to us that we are trying to help and do our best. So, but the second thing that this day means to me, and that's actually more something that I want, is that I've seen so many other, and I'm not sure why this happens with disabilities, but so many other areas in medicine, people get together and they solve problems much faster. Like there's I don't know what it is, but people get together and they solve problems as a team. They consolidate the data, they consolidate the research, and for some reason, in this field of rehabilitation, spinal cord injury, stroke, especially things like ALS. Well, ALS now, the Iceberg Challenge was like opened up the eyes of everyone. But before that, people didn't even know what it was, right? And that's really what I'll take this day to really refocus on, gathering people and gathering research and universities and centers together. Because right now there is a problem on consolidating those things. It's a big issue. People don't talk to each other. You go to one country, and one person is doing a 5-year research, which is another country has already been solved. So I'll take this day to really focus about this and understand that if you get, and that's the same thing Leon and Bobby said, if we work as a team, you solve things much faster.
And there's a lack of awareness. For some reason, people don't know that there's 1 in 7 people in the world have some sort of mobility impairment. No one seems to talk about that. For me, it's this is a very important day because I have 3 people in my family who have severe disability. I have a cousin who has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and that's a big challenge, and we see it every day. And I have 2 family members that have MS as well. So this is something that's definitely close to my heart, and something that I really want to work towards solving, or being a part of solving it anyways.
It's 6 o'clock.
Fantastic. Yeah, so it's 6 o'clock now, so we're gonna close out here. But I hope that this broadcast has encouraged you to think about disability in maybe a different way, and hopefully helps you to celebrate disability throughout the year and not just on this day. Encourage you to get involved with Bionic Labs, with the Big Data University. Want to thank Plus Social Good and thank the UN Foundation for bringing us all together to do this, and thank you so much to the panelists. Loved doing a Google Hangout with you all, and look forward to staying in touch. So hope everyone has a good evening, and thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.